What's up, homies? Welcome to another episode of Heroes Reforged reads the Invincible universe. We're back with the tie-in or an adjacent comic series. Today we're talking about Brit Volume 2. AWOL is what it's called. Brit Volume 2. AWOL. Let's just jump right in. I did not like this comic book.
You know how long it took me? It took me about 2.5 hours to read it because I kept stopping.
Yeah.
I was playing the Winter Soldier soundtrack, and it started out pretty good. And then quickly kind of went off the rails. And by issue 3, I was like, man, I'm really not vibing with this comic book. And then issue 4 got into some really weird terminology and topics of conversation. I was like, whoa, where did this come from? So yeah, this is definitely my least favorite thing that we've read so far, unfortunately.
I've already apologized to you guys, but I want to apologize to people who watch this show. I'm sorry. If you remember the last episode, this was my call. Hector asked what we wanted to read, gave us Wolfman or Brit. I said I miss Brit. Who ended up reading the right call, guys.
You made the right call because
got it out of the way.
Really?
You made the right call because volume 2 of the Astounding Wolfman does jump a little further ahead than in the storyline than we are in an Invincible. So it would have kind of spoiled something a bit, and we are still current with Brit. I want to talk about why we didn't connect to it. And I think I'm with Adam. This is also my least favorite, unfortunately, thing that I've read up to this point. Here's the one thing I will say that I really did enjoy throughout. The art is awesome. It is an artist who I super enjoy named Cliff Rathburn, who was the penciler, inker, and colorist on, it says here, all the issues. And then Andy Kuhn was breakdowns issues 2 through 6. And Russ Wooten was the letterer. Robert Kirkman, of course, the creator and editor, and the writer was Bruce Brown. So Cliff Rathburn, his style, his sort of like cartoony, exaggerated, very veiny style with his characters. So like this style of this artwork, I think really fits the world. It was super fun. It really popped. So throughout the book, I really, really enjoyed the art. I'll also say that I enjoyed the idea of introducing Brit's sister. Didn't quite love the execution, which we can talk about.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about this.
Yeah.
Why didn't it work for us overall? And for me, there was no cohesion in the story. First of all, the story introduced like 30 different characters who either had no backstory or just nothing. There was dimension hopping. There was time hopping that didn't really make sense. There was analogs of other characters like Bent Franklin, who was supposed to be like a Deadpool analog type character. There was
makes more sense. Okay,
an unknown sibling that was introduced that could have been one of the characters that was nameless that ended up, doing something in the book. It was all over the place, all plot, all things that happened, but none of it was connected. Maybe it pays off in volume.
No character.
At this point, though, plot. No character. Like I didn't feel like I got to spend any time with Brit, which is what I liked doing in volume 1. Like it was great to hang out with him. I got to know him a little bit. He made me chuckle a little bit. He stood up to what's his name? The wife, or not the wife, the husband that was treating his wife badly at one. Oh no, wait, that was Super Patriot. Never mind.
That was Super Patriot.
That was the other old guy.
Still old guys. No, I think last time we talked like Brit Volume 1, which is now months ago. I think I remember our takeaway being like, we like this character, even if he's written as this outdated, almost kind of like a 90s comic book character. I guess similar to Super Patriot and some of the stuff explored there. It did feel like Robert Kirkman in a little bit of his early years. Some of the ideas were like a little cringeworthy with like, oh man, why do you have him hooking up with a young hot stripper? Oh, he's gonna like propose to her and they're gonna get married. Okay, we're going somewhere with these ideas.
Yeah.
And this book felt like a little bit like a step back with the humor, with the jokes at certain people's expenses, some of the shock value. And I feel like you can get away with that stuff if you do have kind of some heart at the core of your book. And unfortunately, this one was revealing that like Brit is gone and was replaced. Okay, well, where is he? Well, we don't see that he's kind of been living as like a homeless guy near a laundromat until like halfway or more into the story.
Yeah.
And even then it's like everybody has amnesia, and these duplicates are like basically exact copies of Brit, but then they sort of like start getting weak and die. So then it just felt like the book was trying to make you emotionally disconnect. Anytime I felt like, oh, is that what I'm supposed to? It would really, really kind of put me off.
Yeah.
And even just with like introducing Brit's sister, who, if you look in the back of the book, some of the art and some of the it's kind of a little cheeky, but some of the art was like originally we intended for her to be older like Brit as well, but then we decided, she should probably be like a hot chick, like a young woman to sell comics. But we kept the white hair, which I think is a good look. I'm like, why not just have her be older,
Yeah.
but still like a knockout? Like Brit's a super fit guy who looks like he's in his 60s or 50s, but he's like superhuman buff. I'm like, why not just why can't I just have like Helen Mirren looking awesome, super strong badass? And then and then the other thing is when she's introduced, like we don't know her name, and that's one of these things where in stories like this, you kind of gotta give me some of that stuff so I can connect to it. And by the time we learn her name, it was a little bit of a letdown where I'm like, Brit's reveal was that his real name is Brittany,
Right.
and then his sister's name is Brittany. And they were like, our dad had a sick sense of humor. And I'm just like, that's it? Why couldn't her name have been literally anything else? Like
Helen Mirren.
Literally anything.
Daryl or Helen Mirren or Jim or something to, I don't know. It just felt like even when some kind of interesting ideas were kind of presented, I didn't love the execution. It felt maybe too much like an erratic Deadpool style comic book where, dude, the Deadpool movies were smart to go, but at its core, we're going to put in here some heart so that audiences can get attached, and then they can be on board with all the zaniness and stuff. Adam, hit us with some more overall thoughts, man.
Yeah, I think both of your guys' points. I think this story was just a little too convoluted. I did enjoy some of the stuff with Donald. Like, it was really cool to see Donald get in a little bit more action. We get to understand a little bit of how his like robotic armor works and how he applies it to different situations, which I thought was really, really cool. And right from the beginning, or not beginning-ish, you kind of see this like homeless person outside of the laundry place, and I was like, okay, they're putting this character in here for a reason, where it's going to be a revelation that this is either going to be the real Brit or it's going to be somebody else who's tied to the story, and it ended up being so. But yeah, I had a really hard time just kind of connecting and caring about anybody in this book. The plot was just so stuffed with so much stuff in general that it was almost just kind of hard to follow. And because it never really hooked me and never really gave me anything interesting, unlike Wolfman, which hooked me immediately just by the concept and by the fact that it was like this like fun horror-like story from that felt kind of 80s-ish with a mixture of like 1930s, classic Wolfman stuff. Like, it was able to kind of hook me in just based on that premise. This, I never really got a sense of what was happening. How was it important to Brit as a character? How is it important to the overall Invincible story? And it's not necessarily that Wolfman really did that either, but because it connected some of the characters in the most subtle ways, but had an impact on the characters that were sort of like the main character of the book, you felt a little bit more like it was connected. With this, it was just like, there's no Cecil. He's in it for, 3 seconds. Donald's in there too, which is great. Like, that to me was the only thing that was kind of keeping me in. Otherwise, I didn't really care. And that's a bummer, because I agree. I thought the Brit Volume 1 book was so much stronger, and I cared so much about learning about the character. He's almost sidelined in this. He really is sidelined in this. And it just didn't get me to care. And I had a really tough time just kind of getting through the book. But I did like some of the artwork. I like some of the action stuff. But I do think that it was really wordy at times. And I think on the opposite end, when Invincible, we get into like Volume 5 where it's Cecil and Mark, and there's a lot of exposition. It feels very important and interesting. Whereas the exposition in this, I'm like, what does this matter to the story? So I think that's where the book really was flawed for me. And ultimately, it was just like a really tough read, and I didn't care about the characters, which sucks, because I everything up to this point that we've read, even if I wasn't in love with the characters or the story, I've still cared enough that I'm like, oh, I'd still be interested in seeing these characters cross over or reading another issue or volume. But this book, I was just kind of like, okay,
did you
wrap
care
it up,
about
wrap
this?
it up.
Did you care about this moment here?
feel like it didn't give me enough context to care.
No, and it was very convoluted too. Like, I know they kind of hinted towards these characters flying through different dimensions, but
Right.
they also seem like they're characters. That's a Wolfman, Invincible, and Tech Jacket from a whole nother dimension.
Yes.
Like, it's oddball. Like, there's no context behind it, so I don't care. Is that character's even named Mark? Like, is Wolfman still Gary? Is Tech Jacket still the same kid Tech Jacket? Like, we don't know.
I wanted us to read Wolfman Volume 1 before that because I flipped through and saw that in there. So I was like, oh, Wolfman shows up. We got to read Wolfman Volume 1. Turns out we didn't need to. We could have just read Brit, had gotten to that last page and had you guys been like, who's this? And me too, like, ooh, who's this Wolfman guy? Can't wait to read him. And then
read it.
But I'm still kind of glad we did it in the order that we did it because we did read like the normal mainline Wolfman. And then we got to this. And with that little context, we're like, okay, but this isn't Wolfman and Tech Jacket and Invincible. So anyway, that's where we are now in the series of the Invincible universe. I've got good news and bad news.
Can I end it with one positive note? Because I've been shitting all over this comic. I've been just shitting on this.
Go ahead.
I like the fact that they embrace the silly monster or the silly animals, the sharks with jetpacks.
That was my favorite part, honestly. At first, I was like,
with
"This
army
is
hats
dumb,"
on,
and then I was into it. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Ryan Ottley's Grizzly Shark series, and that's the kind of silliness that I like. It's right here. I want to grab it, but it's like deep inside the pile. But Grizzly Shark is dope.
I asked for one thing, and that was sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their head.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, Brit's at its best when it's embracing the insanity of like a James Bond over the top world mixed with like the Incredibles, mixed with almost like a parody like Austin Powers, into that crazy comic book world. But then letting us spend some time with a character, with some characters to kind of get there. And if the whole premise of this book is that Brit himself is AWOL, right, missing in action, gone, and we're introduced to his sister, then let me meet her sister. Then let me spend some time with her sis, because I still felt like such a stoic, blank character. And in the jokes where she has to put on a really skimpy and revealing outfit, I'm like, why would she even do that? Her introduction is like that she has her blouse continually like popped open and is showing her like chesty, her chest, her cleavage and her like bra and stuff. And I'm like, well, look, if you want to lean into beefcake, cheesecake, comic book stuff, like, I know that a famous example of this is She-Hulk, sensational She-Hulk. When she hulks out, she'll like rip out of her clothes, and certain like statuesque superhero female characters will unfortunately, deal with that trope. But at least She-Hulk is a fully formed character, and the point of her book is not for young boys to ogle at her. It's that she is a lawyer and she's funny and she breaks the fourth wall, and there's a whole character there, and characters like that are the ones that you can kind of play with that a little bit. I'm trying to think of some male equivalents. Can you guys think of some examples of like guys that are super good looking or really fit or physically fit, but and they might even poke fun at that, but they still, there's still something of substance there. Maybe like Thor, Hercules. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think male characters have to deal with this a fraction as much as women characters have to.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's a thing, honestly. But
you might be right.
And maybe there are some examples. I don't know.
I'm just saying that if she's going to be wearing a superhero costume that she was like, ugh, I thought I burned all these. I'm like, okay, so you don't like this. Why are you doing it? Like what? Like what?
Why would you do it? And why would Donald just happen to have one hanging out?
Yeah. And if you want to have these kinds of jokes, I think it's perfectly fine to have immature style jokes in comic books like this, and to be a little cheeky and to show some skin, but just make it equal opportunity. And again, just like make sure that woman character is like, but this is bullshit, right? Like throughout the thing. And so I felt like she kind of started like that, and then she still ended up putting on the skimpy outfit. I'm like, why are you doing this, Brittany? Why?
Makes no sense.
Okay.
Guys, I think we should call this a turd, and then we'll move on.
Okay. You want the good news or bad news first?
Give me bad news first so we can end on a
bad
good note.
News first is the next book we're covering is Brit, Volume 3, Ubar. And the good news is this is the last solo Brit book. We'll be done with the Brit series after this volume 3.
That's his sister there again. Okay, cool.
We're just going to wrap up the story knowing that Invincible, Wolfman, and Tech Jacket are involved. And now, again, I don't know if this is the legit characters or if this is the alternate universe copies that we just met, maybe. But I just want to finish it out just before there's more of a seismic change in the life of Mark Grayson Invincible. So we're not there yet. So after that, I don't want to say what's going to happen. I don't want to say what's going to happen.
I feel like maybe busting out one of my ultimate collections.
I don't know what's going to happen, Adam. You know, maybe something will happen that makes me know that, hey, this is the Invincible up to this point. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Should I kind of peek? Should I? Oh.
What's don't what are you doing?
Who's that guy?
Don't
Who's
do
that?
it.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
What?
You
so we're reading
son of a
too much.
Brit Volume 3. Fubar is next. I just flipped through it to kind of get some little spoilies. And it looks like it is kind of the finale of the Brit series. And then I think I can pretty much definitively say after that, we are going to move on to Invincible. So we'll go back into that as soon as we're done with Brit next week. And that's it, y'all. Thank you so much for reading along with us and watching. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts were on Brit Volume 2. Also, Brit, just as a whole, Volumes 1 and 2. Like, how do you feel about the character and the world and the dynamic with him and Donald? What's been your least favorite volume of all of the Invincible trades that we've read so far? What's been your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Hit us with some of your thoughts. Be sure to check out, if you weren't already, our Patreon, because we've got the uncut reactions to every episode of the Invincible series, Season 1 from Amazon Prime. It is there on our Patreon. We would really appreciate you checking it out, seeing if you want to support. In the meantime, continue to let us know how you're feeling about the Invincible comic books. Join our Discord. The conversation keeps going there. It's awesome. So go hit up the Discord and our fan community. Continue to talk about Invincible. We're stoked for Season 2. We'll see you in a week with Brit Volume 3, Fubar. Until then.
Oh, man.
Stay
Bye.
sexy.
Bye. I thought you were going to come up with some great tagline to end the show with. Until then,
But
bye.
bye.